Well, hi guys. I'm Mark Ovenden. I'm sports director at Dakota News Now, which is the combination of KSFY and KDLT. We've been doing this for about a year together with the two stations, and it's really been kind of cool. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. Big Red Sox fan. Always wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, and if not that, I wanted to be voice of the Boston Red Sox, or maybe another Major League team if I couldn't do the Red Sox, but that's what I really wanted to do. But at some point in your life, you realize, even though I was the leading home run hitter in Little League, that I probably didn't have quite enough ability to make it to Fenway Park as a player. So at some point, I realized that I needed to look for something else to do, be more realistic. At some point in time, in high school, I helped out with doing some play-by-play over the loudspeaker at the football games. That's kind of where I got my start. And when I went off to college in Richmond, Virginia, my freshman year, I was actually on the staff at the newspaper, the college newspaper, and I was a journalism major, which is extremely important. I would recommend being a journalism student of some kind, no matter what your profession is, because knowing how to write and how to express yourself is really important in life. And of course, in my job, it's even more important. But I was a journalism major, and I decided, what I did was I found out by doing it that I didn't want to do newspaper. I didn't want to be writing stories about games. I like to talk. I wanted to tell stories about games. So after my sophomore year, I actually was the sports editor at one point and was going to some pretty cool places to cover the Richmond Spiders. My freshman year, I wanted to be a baseball player and play for the college, but I broke a collarbone playing flag football, and that was it. So that's when I kind of got into my career, so to speak, and my sophomore year was really finding out that as much as I enjoyed going and covering major sporting events, because Richmond was Division I in football and in basketball at the time, and the Spiders have made the NCAA tournament quite a bit in basketball over the years. I found out that I enjoyed being at sporting events, but again, wanted to find a different outlet for myself. Went down to the TV station after my sophomore year in Richmond, the CBS affiliate, knocked on the door, just said, can I work here so I can see what it's like and see what it's all about? And that's really important. And I stress to kids your age to whether it's internships or part-time jobs or whatever, we've had so many kids in high school that have had jobs at the TV station that I've worked at in Sioux Falls. And that's either allowed them to find out they weren't cut out for it and didn't like the pressure, or that they loved it and have gone on to a nice long career in broadcasting. That's what I always encourage kids in high school and college to do, is to do internships so that you can work like under me and find out what it's like to work in a sports department and see if that's something you'd enjoy. Well, I did that, and I got this job at the CBS affiliate in Richmond. My junior year, all I did was kind of background work. I worked in the newsroom. I made phone calls, beat phone calls to all the police departments around. I cleaned slides. I basically did grunt work. By the time I got around to my senior year, they were hiring a weekend sports guy, and the news director saw something in me that I didn't, and he encouraged me to try out for the job. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. He pushed me and had me try out, and by gosh, by golly, they hired me. My senior year in college, I was the weekend sportscaster in a much larger city than here. And it was terrifying at first, but I was learning from a really good sports director. His name was Rich Haney. He was decorated, and he was one of the best, and I really admired him. And so I got to learn from him, got to get a feel for it, moved on to and when I got done with college, really important thing here is, what do you do at that point? I want to get a full-time job in broadcasting, and they didn't have one for me there. So I wrote resumes and sent them to 48 states. 48 because I had it in my head I would never want to live in North or South Dakota. Why would I want to live there? I didn't even know where it was. Pretty funny how things work out. But writing a resume is important. And having a concise one is very important. Don't make mistakes. If you're writing a cover letter with your resume to me, spell my name right. because I'm going to be looking for those little details to see if you're careful and see if you're somebody that's picky about details, because in our job it's really important that you get things right. And I've got a last name that's easily spelled wrong, so I've always been very sensitive to others' names and getting them right and spelling them right and pronouncing them right. When I'm doing highlights, whether it's high school or college, just in the show tonight, I called the coach from Winter to make sure I was saying one of his girls' names right. Because if I say it wrong, everybody in that town's going to know I don't know. Plus, I'm going to hurt her feelings because her name was said wrong. And here's a chance for her to be on TV. So those are really important. Paying attention to detail is extremely important in the work that I do on a regular basis, day to day. I come in every day and I start going through ideas for what I want in my show, although pretty much the night before, I have my show figured out what I want to do the next day. So then the next day it's coming in and just taking those ideas and putting them into the script and organizing the show, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle every single day. Today, I had a sad story about a friend of many South Dakotans who had passed away, and he was an important person in my life. He really was a role model, and I felt compelled to talk about him in my sportscast tonight. He was my lead story, and you kind of hate to lead with something sad, but I try to make it as upbeat as possible because I know a lot of people out there really thought the world of him. So every day, that's what I do, and actually I plan the week out in advance. I plan sometimes the month out in advance, knowing what games we go through and decide what games we're going to cover, and that changes from week to week based on where teams are ranked. But for the most part, I could tell you for the next couple of weeks what high school games we're going to go to, what college games we're going to go to. And most of our show is local stuff. Occasionally the Minnesota teams I consider professional but regional because they're in our area. That part of it is the most fun for me, is putting the show together. And again, it comes back to the journalism part and knowing how to write and be concise. Because once I get out there on the set, it's pretty easy. It's the leading up to it that's hard. Tonight, Adam Huntemer, who's right behind that camera shooting this, went out and shot a couple of games, came back and edited the highlights. I got a feed from one of our photographers in Pierre who shot highlights. I got a feed from Brookings for the South Dakota State game and edited those highlights. Got a feed from Sioux City. They had shot a game down in North Sioux City, South Dakota, with Dakota Valley and Beersford. So I had stuff coming in from all over the place. I had stuff coming from Iowa, from Washington State, all for my show tonight. So it takes a lot to pull all that together, and you've got to be an organized person, and you've got to be really good with your time. But if you find out that this is something you really love by doing it, I would say regardless of what the monetary pay is, because these kind of markets don't pay very much, but if you love what you're doing, that is way more important than how much money you're making, trust me. I've been doing this a long time. One of the things they wanted me to talk about is where do I see myself in 5 years? Retired? But who knows? This job keeps me young. I'm around young people that are full of excitement for their jobs. I'm around, especially in the sports department, I'm around people that have an equal passion for what I do, and that's the love for the things that we're covering. We've got all kinds of photographers and reporters who contribute to our newscast and sportscast on Friday nights during football season. That's the most fun time of the year, is our Football Friday shows. To have people going out to 10, 12, 14, 16 games and coming back and getting those highlights on the show. And those aren't all sports people. The majority of them are news people. But they want to be part of a team. And I got to tell you, putting a sportscast or a newscast together, if you've been in athletics at all as a kid, you'll find that this is just an extension of that. I feel like I'm on a team every single day, and we're trying to win the game. And tonight, we won the game. Here, let me take you out to the studio and show you how the show went tonight as we finish this up. Let's walk into the studio, and here's what it looks from inside the studio as I'm doing my sportscast. And here's how it looked to the people at home.
This is Dakota News Now Sports.
Well,
We have some sad news to start off, so I'm going to take a deep breath and try to get through this. We lost another friend of so many in the world of sports. Former Dakota Wesleyan basketball coach Gordy Faustness passed away last night at the age of 85. I love this picture of Gordy and his best buddy Bob Young. He was a great friend to many, both as a basketball coach and after that, 26 years more with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He was state director there for 11 years and stayed on for another 15 to help in a variety of ways, which is what he did in life. Gordy was a great player in high school, scored 1,400 points there. In college, scored over 1,800 points at Dakota Wesleyan. After being drafted by the Lakers, the Minneapolis Lakers, he ended up coaching in high school for two schools, Cavor and Gregory, and then took the reins at his alma mater for 22 seasons at Dakota Wesleyan, where they were simply dominant. He won 350 games, 10 SDIC titles, and the SDIC was really something in those days. And when Gordy was done coaching, he took over again as the state director for FCA for 11 more years, as I said, and stayed with them for almost 3 decades. All I can say here is well done, friend. A terrific life of serving others. We lost a good friend, but all of us very blessed to have Gordy Faustness as part of our lives. So, in conclusion, I've had people working for me in this job who were doing it because they thought it was glamorous. They weren't necessarily the hardest workers in the world. They weren't huge sports fans. I have made sure from a long time ago that doesn't happen again. Because if you want to be good at something, you need to be passionate about it. If you want to be really good at something, which is what I want everybody to do. I've had so many people work for me that have gone on to much bigger markets and done wonderful things, and I couldn't be prouder than to say that I know them and I was maybe part of getting them fired up about being in this business. I've also had a couple of people that have come and done internships and did really well, but found out it wasn't for them. And they've gone, I've helped them with ideas for other professions too. So find something that you're passionate about. Get involved as early in your life as you can. That's not to say that you have to go to college even knowing what you want to be, but if you got some ideas of things you might want to be, figure out a way to get involved with it as early as you can in life. And that way, going forward, if you do get a passion for it, it's something you can pursue. I love junior achievement. Wish I had time to be in the class, but I still am involved in a very regular basis every summer when I play 100 holes of golf in one day to raise money for junior achievement. And that's just a blast because I'm a golf nut. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you got any questions, you can feel free to call me at Dakota News Now. Good luck, everybody.